ever had. With the Clinton email scandal, the Anthony Weiner detour, now his reaction to the wiretap allegations. He's also become the highest profile director probably since J. Edgar Hoover. In a moment, Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, who's got his own opinion of Director Comey. But first, this from our Randy Kay.
October 28, 2016, just 11 days before the presidential election, FBI Director James Comey reveals that he is re-examining Hillary Clinton's emails. Months earlier, Comey had decided not to recommend criminal charges. But the move to take another look so close to Election Day was in response to thousands of emails found on disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner's server in a separate investigation. Comey wrote to Congress, the FBI has learned of the existence of emails that appear to be pertinent to the investigation.
I'm confident, whatever they are, will not change the conclusion reached in July. Therefore, it's imperative that the Bureau explain this issue in question, whatever it is, without any delay.
Director Comey dropped this bombshell despite the Justice Department and FBI's long-standing practice of not commenting publicly on politically sensitive investigations within 60 days of an election. Comey later explained in a letter to FBI employees why he felt the need to share. I feel an obligation to do so, given that I testified repeatedly in recent months that our investigation was completed. I also think it would be misleading to the American people were we not to supplement the record. But that's not the whole story. Turns out that same month, the FBI was also investigating Russia's meddling in the presidential election. Intelligence officials were looking at possible ties between Russia and Donald Trump's campaign. But none of that was ever made public in the lead up to Election Day. Only the renewed investigation into Clinton's emails.
There is a very clear and extremely troubling double standard in Director Comey's actions. The director owes the American public and Congress a clear explanation of why there is a double standard.
Long after the election, in January this year, Comey testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee. When asked whether the FBI was investigating connections between the Russian government and the Trump team, he would only say, "We never confirm or deny a pending investigation."
I didn't say one way or another.
You didn't say that there...
That was my intention, at least.
You didn't say one way or another whether even there's an investigation underway.
Correct.
Comey emphasized that the investigation into Clinton's emails had been closed already and was no longer pending or open when he spoke about it days before voters went to the polls. And now, with Donald Trump's latest suggestion that President Obama had his Trump Tower phones wiretapped during the campaign, the FBI director is back in the headlines. Comey was apparently incredulous over Trump's wiretap claims and asked his staff to reach out to the Justice Department to knock down the allegation. Long known for his bipartisan fairness, James Comey is certainly in a tangle with both sides. Randy Kay, CNN, New York.
Well, one person who certainly saw his professional life rocked by what James Comey said is former Clinton campaign manager Robbie Mook. So, Robbie, what do you make of the spot that Director Comey is in? I mean, he could publicly refute President Trump's accusation against President Obama, and, you know, I'm sure you'll point out he was fine commenting about Secretary Clinton during the campaign.
Well, yeah, look, it's disappointing that we're seeing restraint now and we didn't see restraint last year, but I think what matters right now is where we go in the future. And the fact that Director Comey is in a bind right now, the fact that this is being made into a partisan issue on the Hill and in the White House when it shouldn't be one at all, to me reinforces that we need an independent, bipartisan commission to take this matter and get it investigated and come back to us and tell us what happened.
Well, and it is interesting regarding Comey because I mean, until the campaign last year, the FBI was not known as a partisan lightning rod. I mean, he served both Republicans and Democratic administrations. Do you give him any benefit of the doubt that his intentions were in the right place?
I think he was trying to do the right thing. I assume he was trying to do the right thing. I think where things went a little bit off was the fact that he broke protocol when it came to Secretary Clinton, that there are rules in place. You're not supposed to talk about a candidate or an election during a certain period before the election. He chose to break that, but now we're seeing all kinds of information come out that he had on now President Trump. But then again, let's just get this entire issue of Russia out of the political space and with some independent people who can objectively tell us what happened.
Ooh, I do have to ask, I mean, do you have confidence in Director Comey's ability to oversee an investigation?
I think the argument I'm making is this is so sticky, he shouldn't have to manage all of this. I recognize that he faces some impossible choices, and I would be the first one to say that the choices he faced in 2016 as well were not simple or easy. And I think this issue has become so polarized and so partisan that we need to lift it out, because what would be a tremendous tragedy would be that a true national security issue becomes so partisan that we don't actually do anything about it. And what I'm very alarmed about is if this is allowed to happen election after election, you know, you could have campaign strategists like me sitting in a room thinking about Russia and China the way we think about super PACs, you know, that they're just something that has to be strategically managed. That's incredibly dangerous, and we don't ever want to get there.
When President Trump says essentially everything under the umbrella of Russian interference is a witch hunt by Democrats to make up for a lost election, obviously you'll dispute that, but what would you say to his supporters, not him, but the people who hear him and believe that logic makes sense?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question, and I know I've said it a lot, but it's worth saying again. We can't treat this like a partisan issue. I understand how his administration would feel threatened by this. It was his aides that were communicating with the Russians, but the message I'm trying to get out loud and clear is we cannot allow the Russians or any other foreign country to permeate deeply into our political process, to become entities that campaigns align themselves with, like there's some sort of interest group. That's just unacceptable. And so I would actually urge the president's supporters to reach out to their members of Congress and ask them for this independent, objective assessment of what happened.
Robbie, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, just ahead, as the House Intelligence Committee prepares for hearings on Russian meddling in the U.S. election, why is Russia trying to influence events here in the U.S.? I'll talk to New Yorker editor David Remnick, who's co-written a deep dive on the answer to that question.